Commission on the Constitutional Future of Wales. But given time constraints, can I jump straight to the matter of Senedd reform? And in particular, how do you see that Senedd reform will affect the Welsh Government's relationship with Westminster, please?
I don't think it will do in a fundamental way, because Senedd reform is just a matter of making sure that the Senedd itself is properly equipped to discharge the responsibilities which it discharges. So there will be more capacity in that sense, but I don't think intergovernmental relations have been affected by capacity issues. Those have not been the source of concerns in recent years. So I doubt there will be any impact of the sort that you've identified.
Thank you. Electoral reform was not in the manifesto, as I understand it, and not part of the plan, but that is part of the programme moving forward. I know that the UK government back in 2011, when it was formed as a coalition, one of its manifesto pledges was for electoral reform, and so a referendum was brought before the people of the UK. Why do you feel that it is not a good idea to have a referendum on electoral reform in Wales?
Senedd reform was in the manifesto of my party, the Plaid Cymru party, the Liberal Democrat party. I don't think anybody who looked at what was being promised in the 2021 election could have been unaware of that. We operate within the rules set down by the Conservative 2017 Government of Wales Act. That does not require a referendum. It does require us to secure a 2/3 majority for reforms on the floor of the Senedd. That is the safeguard that Act puts in place, and we operate within the rules that were created for us.
It is. You're absolutely correct. It is not required, but there's also a cost to these reforms of over 100 million over the course of the next Senedd period. So I'm curious why then that is the choice of the administration, your choice, when public services are struggling in Wales. The lowest educational attainment across the UK, worst performing health service, highest unemployment rates. £100 million on electoral reform, First Minister.
Well, Chair, I'm not going to litigate in front of this committee all those matters for which the committee has no responsibility, as it has no responsibility for Senedd reform. But let me just say that we will complete, I hope, the journey set off 20 years ago, when the Richard Review, carried out by Lord Ivor Richard, concluded that the then Assembly required more members to discharge the responsibilities that were to be exercised in Wales. Over that 20 years, the Senedd has grown, both in the scope and the depths of the powers that we exercise, including new powers transferred to the Senedd under the leadership of the chairmanship of your committee. Now, I am confident that a new Senedd, properly equipped to do the job that it will do, will save money time after time, far more than pay for itself. And that's why democracy is important.
Thank you. I do acknowledge the importance of that scrutiny and hence my interest in referenda. But if I could return to the issue of intergovernmental relations and again the point of the health service. As you're aware, I'm in North Wales and Betsy Cadwallader has had particular challenges, significant challenges. The last time we spoke, we talked about the offer that the UK government had made to cut waiting lists during the pandemic, and that offer had been declined. Well, as we both know, since then, a supplementary offer, a further offer has been made by the UK government to help with reducing waiting lists in Wales. What progress has been made on that, please?
I don't think a great deal of progress has been made, but that is because waiting lists in England are growing far faster than waiting lists in Wales. And that means that the capacity of the English system to offer treatment to Welsh patients, when it cannot satisfy the demand from English patients, is inevitably constrained. Now, that does not mean, as I think Mr. Millar will acknowledge, that there is not a great deal of cross-border treatment in which patients who live in England receive their treatment in Wales, and patients who live in Wales receive treatment in England. And I'm a big supporter of that. I regularly defend the fact that patients who live in Wales get treated in England where that is the right thing for that patient. Whether there is scope to do more of that at a point when every health service is under enormous pressure, I think the scope for that is inevitably limited.
Thank you, Mr. Drakeford. I understand, of course, that the English Health Service is outside of your responsibilities, but the offer was made nonetheless. And tell me, before you make a decision on that, will you speak to any patients on waiting lists who are waiting to receive treatment, essential treatment, life-changing treatment, and would benefit from such an offer of help from the UK government?
You say to Mr. Miller, it isn't a matter of a decision for me. The offer was made by the English Secretary of State. If he is in a position to offer us not just a we will help, but here is capacity that could be made available for you, and Welsh patients could take advantage of it, then of course we would be open to that conversation, just as we in Wales provide for English patients, thousands of them, every day of the week.
Thank you. I will take that as a cautious, positive yes, and would pursue that at this end of the line. If I could move just finally and briefly to some very good news we had in North Wales recently of £1 billion investment towards the electrification of the North Wales main line. That, of course, follows over £700 million, I believe, in a metro in South Wales. But I was disappointed, and I know many residents were perplexed by the response from the Welsh Government spokesperson, which was to say that this was not a priority for Wales.
Well, I mean, there's two answers, aren't there? First of all, the so-called promise unravelled very quickly indeed when the Secretary of State for Transport in the UK government said that this was merely an illustrative list, that nobody was to take it as meaning that this was actual money for actual activity. So, you know, I doubt a single penny will be spent on this scheme during the lifetime of the current government. In fact, it's a 10-year project, if it is to happen at all. And I think what our minister here pointed to was that the joint committee, a committee made up of representatives from the Welsh government and the UK government, prioritising plans for rail investment in North Wales, that committee with UK representatives on it had not put electrification of the main line at the top of their list for investment. The announcement was made with no reference to the group that had been established between two governments to draw up priority plans. There is a list of priorities jointly agreed. Instead, in a conference announcement, designed, I'm afraid, for headlines rather than for real activity, something is pulled out of a hat. I'm afraid there's very little confidence amongst people in North Wales that this will ever happen, because they saw the experience in South Wales, where we were promised twice that there would be electrification of the main line, and twice that plan was reversed.
Well, we won't talk about promises on infrastructure projects while the M4 hangs over our heads, First Minister, but I would say that the Transport Secretary did confirm from the dispatch box on Monday that £1 billion has been allocated for North Wales. I know that I'm delighted by it, and the question really at the back of that, First Minister, is North Wales is tired of being left out, tired of being left behind, and a sense that decisions made in Cardiff only extend as far as Welshpool, perhaps.
Well, I'm afraid that's a tired old trope, and I'm sorry to hear it rehearsed again this morning.
Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Robin Millar. Before I bring in